ATARASHII GAKKO, they always give you a lot to say. And so it's time for the new song, which is called OTONA BLUE. Let's unpack this one. Hi and welcome back to Japan, where we have a new ATARASHII GAKKO song called OTONA BLUE, and this song is certainly, well, it's very ATARASHII GAKKO in that it's got all of the craziness, all of the cheekiness, all of the unexpectedness, and yet at the same time, well, as I say, it's kind of got some unexpected features to it as well. So we're going to talk about the music, we're going to talk about the style, and we're going to talk about the message of this song. But let's start, as we usually do, with the song structure. Now see, if you've ever watched maybe, shall we say, a 90s Western film where there's any scene where maybe a bunch of Chinese or Asian generic gangsters are sitting around having a meeting and maybe there'll be someone singing karaoke in the corner, you get the vibe of where we're going for here. It's that sort of slightly cheesy, very Asian style 80s, 90s karaoke sound to it. Now this is rather interesting because Asian music as a general had at that point kind of a habit of sounding a little bit behind Western music, whereas we think of this kind of synth music as being very much a 80s thing in the West. Often you find a lot of Asian countries, they were catching up in the 90s, and then around about the millennium, after the millennium, they were sort of caught up with a lot of contemporary sounds, and I would say now Asian music is kind of leading the way a lot sonically compared to Western music. But certainly this goes back to a genre which we would think of being very sort of 80s in the West synth style, and probably more 90s. It's kind of hard to call a particular genre to it, but this is basically that old school style of karaoke music, which I think that ATARASHII GAKKO probably first heard as being what their parents probably would sing at karaoke. Maybe their grandparents, they're very young. It's the sort of music that I imagine that ATARASHII GAKKO would have heard growing up, and so for them there's probably a strong parody element to this song. But what this really brings us on to is why musically this works. See, ATARASHII GAKKO's songs up until this point have mostly, or at least their singles, have been very much based on hip-hop and rap, something they've been very good at doing in an expressive way. They have not so much focused on choruses except for In Pineapple Kryptonite, which one day I'll release the review of that song. As you guys know, I'm probably the diametric opposite to everyone else, and that is by far my least favourite ATARASHII GAKKO song. But the one thing I did like about that song was the chorus. They're good at writing good melodies and having good melodies in their songs, and this song is all melody. As I mentioned about it having something of a karaoke vibe, karaoke or however you want to say it, it certainly does have that vibe, and it carries it in being melodic throughout. This is a sort of song where you're following the voices and you're just really sort of going along with a very melodic journey, which is somewhat not what you expect from ATARASHII GAKKO's songs, and yet it works really well. But that whole melodic, wistful vibe, that whole singing and karaoke in a sort of old school sense really does play well with the lyrics and the feeling of this song. See, this song has a message. Well, the message of this song is something that came up a lot in pop songs during the probably 50s, definitely 60s, 70s and 80s, but probably wouldn't be used so much now as it would be considered very un-PC. And it is a little bit of a weird subject, if I'm honest with you, but the sort of thing that you would expect ATARASHII GAKKO to actually approach. Now, if you've heard this song, you already know where I'm going with this. This is a song about seemingly someone who is younger, probably below the age of legality, who is lusting after an older person, and that feeling of them trying to want to be more mature so that they can have the mature love of an older partner. And, you know, okay, it's a harmless, fun vibe, but as I say, it's the sort of thing where you wouldn't even dare do that in a song nowadays. It's the sort of thing where we kind of all know, yeah, it's a bit of a creepy subject, and yet at the same time, in a song where everyone knows it's just kind of like a song for fun, it should be innocent. It's an interesting thing. I wonder whether ATARASHII GAKKO approached this song thinking, oh, this is a little bit edgy or not, but I imagine even as a Japanese group they must know that this is kind of a bit of an edgy subject to play with, and it's fun to see them enjoying it. As with the best ATARASHII GAKKO songs, it tends to be something where either there's a lot of passion behind it, or more often than not they're just having fun with the concept, and here they really are, and it comes across in the video, which again has that kind of image that I mentioned of the sort of old school karaoke room kind of vibe, but as well has a lot of nods towards things like there was the sort of drinking of strawberry milk. There's a bit where she's tapping a cigarette against an ashtray, but if you look at it, you might not recognise this, but it's actually one of those little candies or sweets which they give to kids, where it comes in a little cardboard thing, you open it and it's like a little candy cigarette. And she's tapping that on the ashtray. There's a lot of sort of vibes towards the I'm definitely a child, but I'm trying to find the love of this mature person by comparison. And, you know, I just found that kind of fun in a way because of the fact they played it off in such a twee, cutesy kind of way. At the same time, you know, the lead singer does like to sort of overdo it a little bit. And so, you know, she's getting right up in the camera and everything, but that's kind of her whole delivery style. I think it was just kind of an innocent, silly, fun thing. And I think, weirdly, it's probably kind of true. I mean, let's face it, boys or girls, I think there's anyone, anyone's probably seen this when you're a teenager. There's always, like, whether it be you or someone else, there's always someone who's just like, oh, I don't like people my own age. I wish I could date someone older. So it is I think it's a timeless subject to have in a song, but seeing it approached in Atarashi Gakko's slightly on the nose, kind of playful way, yeah, it works. It's a subject matter that works for them. They seem to, I don't actually know how old they are, but based on their dress sense and everything, they seem to be the right age to convey the message. It just came across as like a fun song, although I think if I was around a 50-year-old guy who kept on listening to this song, I might be a little bit like, don't take it too seriously, all right? In conclusion, this is something of an irreverent kind of fun little look back to a style of more innocent music from before time. It's well delivered in that it has a melody that is catchy and, you know, gives the song something that you can actually follow. It is a good melody in the song. It has a style of music that is playfully old school, but is well written. There's a good full arrangement in there that's kind of something for your ears to chomp on. It's just nice, playful, a little bit twee. And it has a message which I don't think anyone's taking overly seriously, but at the same time does kind of resonate a sense of, yeah, believability coming from a group like Atarashi Gakko who play the schoolgirl part. So I think there was something charming about this that, again, as tends to be the case with groups like this, you want to hear them do songs that only really they could do. And yeah, I think this is something that they carried very well, matched their persona, and was a good fun song. Is it going to be one which I'm going to come back to like, oh, I've really got to listen to that over and over again? No, it's not like super catchy or super brilliant, but it is definitely a song where if I want something interesting to colour up my playlist and make it a little bit different, then yeah, put it in. It's good, fun, and it is different. So there you go. That was a bit of a rambling review, wasn't it? So as always, get in the comments, tell me what you think, and until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these, for now, ciao ciao.